Today I will be doing the radiator in this 1996 Buick Riviera. I recently had the upper part of the radiator just crack on me, so we will be replacing that, and I'll give you a quick guide on doing so. Okay, so once you have the hood popped on your vehicle, first thing you'll want to do before removing the radiator is you'll need two catch pans, one for transmission fluid and one for antifreeze. There's a little petcock on the bottom of your radiator where you can actually open it up and drain all the fluid out. The other alternative is to remove the lower radiator hose, and you will get most of the fluid out that way. And as far as the other pan for the transmission fluid, I remove the transmission fluid lines at the last point. That way I don't lose too much fluid. In my case, my radiator is already emptied. First thing you'll need to do here when removing it is in the front here, you have 4 10mm bolts, and then you have 3 10mm bolts on each side. And then you have 3 down here. And then also, if you pan around to this side, you'll see that you have I believe that's a 13mm. You have one of these on each side, and it just is a support bracket. And then you'll need a little flathead screwdriver to pop out these pins right here. They're just plastic tabs. You can pull them straight out. Grab each side here and lift straight up. Once you have that upper guard off, you'll come over here to each side. These are 10mm bolts. I'm just going to use a wrench on them, and I'll break them all loose and then hopefully be able to get them out by hand. And then you'll come over here to your fan. These here are 8mm, so remove both of these, and then on each side, let's see here, each side right where my finger is here, let's see if I can get that in there, right here, there is another bolt, and it feels like it is a 10mm as well. So one on this side, and then follow the fans over, and then there's one underneath your belt on, or your hose on this side. Once you have the upper 8mm bolts removed and the two side 10mm bolts removed, these will just pop out like that, and then you can grab it and lift up, move it out of its channel down below, and instead of disconnecting all the harnesses and pulling these out completely, I'm just going to lift up and press them all toward the front of the engine here, just to give me some extra space. So in order to remove the lower radiator hose here, I have this special tool. It actually works really good at compressing these rings, and you are able to slide them off. And other thing you'll want to do is you come over here to the passenger side of the vehicle. You'll have your upper transmission line and your lower. These are 5/8, and you would just be turning them to the left to loosen them. And then last thing is this connection right here. You'll press down on the tab and pull this directly out toward the rear of the vehicle. Once you have those 3 things disconnected on this side here, oh sorry, forgot this one. Then you'll take a pair of pliers, and you can pinch this tension clip here and back it away and remove this rubber line. Then your radiator should be free to come out. So I believe I have everything disconnected. Now I'm going to come over here and grab the radiator. I'll pull it straight up. Okay, so I ran into a little bit of a hiccup while doing this. I have received the incorrect radiator multiple times. Again, this vehicle is a 96 Buick Riviera, and the radiator that I found that actually fits it correctly was for a 97. So I don't know if there was an issue with the car in the past or something where they swapped them out to this. The reason the radiator matters is this particular one is that the core on the one I was receiving was 1.25 inches. The reason that matters, otherwise the radiator would have worked, is because there's a metal bracket that goes on top here and a metal bracket that goes on the bottom there that the two fans attach to. So I will provide the part number for the radiator that I ended up using in the description, so if you're having the same issue, go ahead and check that out. So I am going to go ahead and start trying to attempt to drop the radiator back in here. When doing so, these rubber grommets on each side there, make sure they're aligned correctly so that when you set it down, it is in place. Another thing to remember is that the brackets that hold these fans in position, make sure you install those before setting the radiator down. Be sure that when you have these brackets installed, that you come through and you push in these tabs into the holes that they are lined up in on the upper 4 tabs, and then there's also 4 tabs on the lower section here. But press those in, do it gently so you don't damage the core, and then if you need to, now's a great time to remove these quick disconnect fittings. In my case, I do not need these, so I'm going to remove both of these. They weren't on there very tight. Another thing that I went ahead and did was I ordered a new coolant level sensor. It goes right there in the side of the radiator. There's nothing wrong with the old sensor, but they have these plastic tabs on them and they seemed very brittle, and I didn't want to reinstall the old switch and then have this fail. So I went ahead and purchased a new one. I purchased it on Amazon. I believe it was $26. If you go into the store and try to purchase this, it's going to be about $75. So I recommend just going to Amazon. I got an AC Delco brand, which I find to be very reliable, and I will post the item number and part number in the description. When pressing this into position, it does take quite a bit of pressure on the brand new one. I did try to lube up the O-rings there before pressing it in so that I lower the chance of damaging it. Alright, something to take note of when reinstalling your fans is on the radiator there is a plastic clip on this side, and then that metal bracket, the reason it was so important to go into place is because this slips over that metal bracket like so, and then it keeps the fan from moving around in here. So make sure you get both of those lined up, and then you'll run your screw through the top here, and then you'll also run this screw through right here. When reconnecting your lower radiator hose and your transmission line, it will be easiest with the fans uninstalled. Alright, so when tightening up your radiator fans and mounting your radiator, you will have 4 shorter 10mm screws. One goes here, holding the fan in. One goes on the outside. And then same thing on the passenger side of the vehicle. Make sure you use the shorter ones so that you do not crack the reservoirs here. Again, these up here, tighten these up, line them up. And these are 8mm. You can just cinch them up until the plastic touches the bracket here. Once you're done with that, go ahead and reconnect your upper and your lower radiator hose and your overflow hose here, along with your upper and lower transmission cooler line here. So these are going to be 5/8. So go ahead and tighten all these up. So now I'm going to reinstall this upper cover here. There should be 2 studs sticking out on each side, and you can just mark, just line them up, and then let this rest down on it. You may have to pull your radiator forward to get it to line up in the bracket here. So now it's nice and firm in there. You will have 10, actually you have 8 10mm bolts like this that will go in these holes. You have 2 here, 4 up front, and then 2 on the other side. Then you have 2 10mm nuts that will go on each stud, driver and passenger side. There's only one place for these to go. And once you're done with that, you will have a metal bracket on each side that lines up into this metal bracket here, and you have a 10mm bolt that will go into that. So get all of those started, but do not tighten them down until everything is started, and then go through and just tighten them up. Once you have all of these bolts started, find your overflow line for the coolant reservoir, and then you'll have these plastic clips like this, these fasteners, and then there will be holes across here. Take your hose and snap your clips in. There should be 3 of them in total. Okay, so we are filling up the cooling system with GM antifreeze, and when doing so, you'll want to come over here with a flathead and open this little valve right here. You don't have to pull this all the way out, just enough to allow air to escape as you're adding fluid. Keep adding it until fluid is coming out of this without bubbling, and then if you have one of these handy tools here, you can plug it once the fluid's coming out, and you can also start it up with this on here. Let some of the fluid go down, open it back up. Don't let it get hot, just enough to add more fluid to it if there happens to be more air in the system, and that'll save you some time in the future. So once you start it up, let it run for 30 seconds or so, see if any air bubbles get out, and then put the cap on it and let it heat up, and check it once it's cooled down again. Alright, so we have everything buttoned back up. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I will respond to them pretty quickly. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for future videos. Have a fantastic day.